Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are going to stare directly into an abyss. But I want you to put aside the image you probably have in your head.
Right.
You know, when we talk about monsters, we picture something jagged, something dark.
Something that screams danger from a mile away. It's a survival mechanism.
Exactly. But today, we are looking at an abyss that, well, it smiles at you. It wears a turtleneck and a blazer.
It helps you carry your groceries to the car.
Yeah. We are diving into a huge stack of reports and case histories all surrounding one name, Ted Bundy.
And specifically, our source material is really focused on what it calls the mask of trust.
Hmm.
And I think the reason we have to do this, why this case is still so, magnetic and terrifying, is because it broke all the rules.
It broke the social contract.
Completely. The whole point of the material we're covering today isn't just a timeline of crimes.
No.
It's about how this clean-cut law student weaponized the very thing that holds society together.
Trust. And, looking at this research, it's clear that Bundy didn't just scare people. He fundamentally changed how police do their jobs. He basically invented the modern idea of the serial killer in the public mind.
Oh, absolutely. That term wasn't really even in the vernacular before him, not in the way we use it today. The authorities, they just didn't have a vocabulary for what they were dealing with.
So let's peel back this mask. We have to start with the construction phase, because when you read his early biography in these sources, you don't see a villain.
Not at all. You see a resume.
A good one.
A very good one. I mean, look at the data points. Born in Vermont, 1946. He's a psychology major at the University of Washington. He worked on a Republican governor's re-election campaign.
Attending law school. If you saw that profile today on LinkedIn, you would think high achiever.
You think future leader. And the sources really emphasize that. He was desperate to project that exact image. He wanted the status, the admiration.
But our source material points to this massive crack in his foundation that happened way before any of that.
You're talking about the family secret.
Yeah.
It's a classic traumatic shattering of identity.
Yeah.
Bundy grew up believing his mother, Louise, was his sister.
And his grandparents were his parents.
Right. Which was all done to hide his illegitimate birth because of the stigma back in the 40s.
Of course.
But just imagine the psychological impacts of that. Finding out the truth. The people you trust the most have built this lie that defines your whole existence.
The source argues that created this profound disconnect.
A profound disconnect and this deep-seated resentment. It created this feeling that reality is just whatever story you can get people to believe.
So he learns that identity is malleable, that you can just lie.
And if you do it with enough conviction, it becomes the truth. And it creates this split. So while he's projecting this golden boy image, internally, he was a different person.
The sources say he was, what, socially isolated?
Very. And already engaging in, voyeurism and stalking, he later called it an entity inside him, a hunger.
That's a chilling way to put it. He didn't see himself as the monster, but as something carrying the monster.
And he was building a cage for it. That's what the mask of trust really is. He studied psychology, and the research suggests it wasn't to help people.
No, it was to understand how to manipulate them.
Exactly. Learning the mechanics of human behavior so he could mimic them perfectly. He was studying how to be human to hide the fact that he wasn't.
So, fast forward. 1974, Seattle. The mask is fully formed. He's handsome, charming, polite.
And people start disappearing.
And this is where it gets so dark because of how he did it.
This is where we have to break down his MO, his modus operandi.
Right, which for anyone not deep in the jargon is just the method, the routine.
And Bundy's MO in the Washington era was, well, it was terrifyingly brilliant. It preyed on empathy.
He didn't jump out of bushes?
No, he didn't break down doors. He made the victims come to him.
This is the famous cast and crutches routine.
It's the visual cue of helplessness. He'd wear a fake plaster cast on his arm, or he'd be struggling on crutches, trying to load something into his car.
And the car itself is important here, too. The Volkswagen Beetle.
It is. It's a non-threatening car. It's a college kid's car. It's almost friendly.
So you've got a handsome guy. He looks injured. He's struggling. Who doesn't stop to help?
Especially back in 1974. You'll have to remember, this was the era of hitchhiking. The whole stranger danger thing wasn't a slogan yet.
You helped your neighbor. You helped a student who dropped his books.
It was a different world, and he exploited that. Women, intelligent, capable women like Linda Ann Healy, Ghana Manson, they would walk right up to him.
Because their instinct was to be kind.
And that's the weaponization of empathy. He used their own goodness against them.
And the source details the switch, right? The moment they're near the car.
As soon as they were in his zone of control, the mask dropped. The injured student was gone, and the predator was there. He'd use a crowbar to knock them unconscious, instantly.
It's so efficient. So cold.
It is. But here's the part that it drives me crazy reading these files. People saw him.
You're talking about the Lake Sammamish incident.
Yes, in broad daylight. Thousands of people at a park. Witnesses saw a handsome man with a cast talking to young women.
And they even heard him introduce himself.
They heard the name Ted.
They heard Ted.
Multiple witnesses told police his name was Ted. They described the Volkswagen, the cast, everything.
So hold on, you've got a name, a car, a physical description. Why didn't police just knock on his door?
Because of the bias, the mask. The police sketches went out, reports were filed, but when people looked at Ted Bundy, the law student, the guy working on the political campaign, they couldn't reconcile that image with a brutal killer.
The cognitive dissonance was just too strong.
Even his own friends, who knew his name was Ted, that he drove a Beetle, they dismissed it. They thought, no, not Ted. He's too nice. He's going to be a lawyer. The mask worked better than he probably ever imagined.
That's a huge indictment of how much we rely on just visuals to tell us who's safe. So Seattle gets too hot. He does what predators do. He migrates.
He moves to Utah for law school in '74, then Colorado. And the killings continue. But this is where the source material highlights a shift. He starts getting arrogant.
Or sloppy.
Maybe both.
This is the Carol Durant story. This is where it goes from a mystery to a thriller.
It was a pivotal moment. November 1974, he tries a new mask. He approaches Carol Durant at a mall in Utah.
But he's not the injured student this time.
No, this time he's playing authority. He impersonates a police officer, flashes a badge, or what looks like one, tells her someone tried to break into her car.
So again, he's relying on that automatic trust we have in authority figures. You don't question a cop.
Exactly. But Carol, something felt off to her. She got in the car, but when he turned down a Duke road, her alarm bells just exploded.
And he tried to handcuff her.
He did. And she didn't freeze. She fought.
She fought like hell.
The source describes this violent struggle inside the Beetle. She manages to get the door open, falls out onto the road, and flags down another car.
And she survived.
She survived. And critically, she went straight to the real police. So now they have a witness who looked him right in the eye.
Which leads to the arrest in 1975.
Eventually, yeah. A patrol officer spots his Beetle, pulls him over. He has burglary tools, handcuffs, a mask in the car. Carol Durant picks him out of a lineup.
Okay, so you'd think, game over. But this is where the story just gets insane. The escapes, the sheer audacity of this guy.
It's his narcissism, his need for control. He decides to act as his own lawyer, which gives him access to the law library in the courthouse in Aspen, Colorado.
Escape number 1, 1977.
He's in the library, unrestrained. He asks for a break, waits for the guard to look away, opens a second-story window, and jumps. Jumps 25 feet. He hurts his ankle, but he's gone.
Loose in mountains.
For 6 days. Breaks into cabins, steals food. He's eventually recaptured. But you would think the security would be airtight after that.
You'd think.
Apparently not. Because 6 months later, back in jail, he pulls off a plan that required this.
Yeah.
Terrifying physical discipline.
This is the one where he literally changed the size of his own body.
Yeah. He's in a jail in Glenwood Springs. He notices a small opening for a light fixture in his ceiling. But it's tiny, maybe a foot square.
No normal-sized man could fit through that.
So he changed his size, he stopped eating, he starved himself, lost about 35 pounds.
That is just pure obsession.
It's single-minded focus. On New Year's Eve, when the jail's on a skeleton crew, he piles books under his blanket to look like a sleeping body, squeezes through that hole in the ceiling.
Crawls through the ceiling.
Drops down into an empty apartment, changes into street clothes, and just walks out the front door.
He just walked out?
And by the time they realized he was gone the next morning, he was already on his way to Florida.
And this is where the story shifts again, the final unraveling.
It's a total escalation. The source material indicates a major psychological shift. In Seattle, he was calculated. The mask was tight.
But in Florida?
In Florida, after the escapes, living on the run, he was just feral.
The Chi Omega attack.
January 1978. He breaks into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. And this wasn't a lure. This wasn't a trick.
It was a rampage.
A rampage. In less than 15 minutes, he bludgeoned 4 women in their sleep. He killed Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman. It was chaotic, brutal violence.
It sounds like a man who knew the end was coming.
That's how profilers see it. He was spiraling. A few weeks later, he abducts a 12-year-old girl, Kimberly Leach. The preference was gone. He was just taking targets of opportunity.
And after all of that, the elaborate escapes, the impersonations, how was he finally caught?
Pure irony. He was driving a stolen car in Pensacola, and a cop pulled him over for a routine traffic violation.
A traffic stop.
A traffic stop. He ran, they tackled him, and that was it.
Wow. So now we get to the trial. And again, the source calls this theater. He's on trial for his life, and he's acting like he's the host of the show.
It was bizarre.
Yeah?
This is really the first trial of the century, of the modern media age. It was televised, and Bundy played to the cameras, smiling, flirting.
He was getting fan mail.
Fan mail. During the trial, it goes back to the mask. Some people just couldn't reconcile the handsome man in the suit with the monster being described. They thought, he's too handsome to be a killer.
But the science wasn't charmed. The source mentions a huge forensic breakthrough.
Yeah, this was a landmark moment for forensic odontology.
Bite mark analysis.
Exactly. During the Chi Omega attack, in his frenzy, Bundy bit one of the victims, Lisa Levy. He left a clear impression of his teeth.
And teeth are like fingerprints, right?
In a way, yeah, especially if they're crooked. And Bundy's lower teeth were very distinct. The prosecution got a casting of his teeth and had an expert overlay it with photos of the bite mark.
I know.
A perfect match. That one piece of physical evidence just cut through all the charm, all the acting, and linked him physically to the body of the victim.
You can't argue with your own teeth marks?
Nope. So with that, and eyewitnesses, and fiber evidence, he was sentenced to the death penalty.
Which brings us to the end. January 24, 1989, the electric chair.
Before the execution, the mask finally came off. He confessed to over 30 murders, though. As the sources note, investigators think the real number is well over 100.
100. It's just unfathomable. But let's zoom out. You said at the start this case changed policing forever. How?
Because Bundy exposed all the flaws in the system. Police departments didn't talk to each other across state lines. He could just move from Washington to Utah to Colorado, and he was basically a ghost.
He was exploiting what they call linkage blindness.
Precisely. So because of Bundy, we saw the creation of nationwide suspect databases. It spurred the development of VICAP, the FBI's Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, and it was the birth of true behavioral analysis.
The whole Mindhunter thing.
Exactly. Agents started using Bundy as a case study to learn that normal can be a camouflage.
And it changed the culture, too. Stranger danger.
It did. It fundamentally shifted how we teach our kids about strangers. The idea that a polite person asking for help could be a lethal threat. The trauma comes directly from Bundy.
So when we put it all together, what's the big takeaway here?
Well, the psychological profile shows the classic triad. Psychopathy, so no empathy. Narcissism, believing he was smarter than everyone. And necrophilia, the desire for total control.
But other killers have those traits. Why is Bundy the one we're still talking about?
Because of that aha moment the source brings up. Before Bundy, we thought monsters looked scary. After Bundy, we had to accept that monsters can look normal. He proved that evil doesn't always grimace. Sometimes it smiles.
He looked like us.
He looked exactly like us.
And here's the detail from the source that I can't shake. He didn't just hide, he studied.
Yes. He was a student of the system. He followed the news about himself. He studied police investigations.
He knew exactly how the system worked. He knew what they were looking for, so he knew how to give them the opposite.
He turned the system's own rules against it.
And it forces you to ask this really uncomfortable question, right? We walk around every day relying on these visual cues to tell us who's safe. The suit, the smile, the normal resume. But if Bundy taught us anything, it's that those cues can be a complete fabrication. So how much of our safety is just based on an assumption that the bad guys are easy to spot?
And what happens when the next predator decides to wear a mask that's even better than Bundy's? In the digital age, that mask is easier to build than ever.
That's the lingering question. The mask of trust is the hardest one to see behind.
That's it.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.